Preparations building up to the 2020 census.
In Arizona alone, we need 57,000 applicants.
The future of broadband and where speeds lag in Arizona.
You can sit in the parking lot and work on your assignments out there.
Tucson's outgoing mayor on his accomplishments and ongoing challenges.
I'm going to say we're 100 officers short. I don't think anyone quarrels with that.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you for joining us. Across the country, including southern Arizona, the Census Bureau is preparing for the 2020 census. That includes hiring 500,000 temporary workers nationwide. For more about the job opportunities in the state and what residents should expect, we turn to Tammy Parisi, the partnership coordinator for southern Arizona.
The census enumerators, as we call them, they will follow up with households that don't respond on their own, but it is definitely our hope that in 2020 people will self-respond to the census. And for the first time in history, we have multiple options for response. And we will go online for the first time, or another option is by telephone response, where the household will call the Bureau as opposed to us calling back to the households. And ultimately, for those who still prefer the paper questionnaire, that will be available as well.
What was the motivation behind offering multiple channels for people to respond?
We want the census to be easy for households. It's so important how it frames decisions in America and how it is really the data that provides the voice in Congress. So two main things that the census data provides, and that is the apportionment in Congress, as well as over $675 billion annually is provided to the states as a result of census data. So it's so important for everyone to participate.
Now, the census is collected because of the Constitution, but I imagine the questions have shifted over the years. What's new this time around, or what can we expect?
Sure. So the census in 2020 is shorter. So households may recall very long questionnaires in the past, but we've condensed this to just 9 questions really to the household for response in 2020. So the American Community Survey took the place of the long census form.
And then once the information is collected, what becomes of it?
Yes, first and foremost, we want all households to know that any of the information collected by the Census Bureau is safe. Title 13 of the United States Code protects that information, and the Bureau will never release outside of statistical format any information that we collect. So households need to know that it is safe to respond to the census.
You know, there are people who will be skeptical about the time that it's involved, where their information ends up. What do you say to them about the importance of participating in this?
Census data informs decision makers, where new structures need to be built, where daycares need to be built, where emergency services are needed, and even down to the roads. So it is so important for the community.
This is a huge undertaking. Someone's actually got to be there to collect the information. What does that mean in terms of jobs and people who will be hitting the streets?
Yes, so the Census Bureau needs to hire over 500,000 people to help us knock on the doors of across America. In Arizona alone, we need 57,000 applicants.
It can also be part-time work for people. 57,000 jobs, though, translates into the economy somehow. How much are they making?
So the pay ranges in the state of Arizona, where we could start at $13 an hour up to $19.50. It just depends on the county and the demographics within that area. And we want people to apply from their own communities. So if we have a door knocking need or enumerating need in a neighborhood, we would love the people from that neighborhood to be an applicant.
So there are 2 national processing centers in the country. One of them happens to be Arizona.
Yes.
How significant is that?
So Phoenix being selected as only one of 2 in the entire nation to process the questionnaires is of great benefit to the state of Arizona. The processing center alone will bring nearly 1,000 more jobs to the state of Arizona.
Okay, Tammy, thank you.
Thank you so much.
As you heard, the census has major impacts, and the data collected can also tell us about the well-being of a community. In southern Arizona, the MAP Dashboard, an online research project, does something similar. The University of Arizona Eller College of Management launched the project in late 2014. It tracks 36 socioeconomic indicators and makes that information available to the public. We asked senior research economist Jennifer Pullen about some of the big takeaways. She spoke to us via Skype from South Carolina. How is it that you're able to collect this information? It seems so frequently.
Yeah, all of our data is publicly sourced data. About a third of it comes from the Census Bureau. So we update the data annually. It's all annual data. So there's an indicator updating typically every month, or a few indicators updating each month on the map dashboard.
It launched in 2014, but what sorts of information have you been able to glean about this region, its growth, its deficits?
Okay, so Tucson does really well in in several different areas. We have a really high level of patent activity. So this is kind of a measure of the entrepreneurship in our region. We do really well in the percentage of college majors that we have that are in a STEM field, so science, engineering, technology type field. Those individuals that hold their first bachelor's degree, we've had a huge decline in our teen birth rate. We do struggle in some areas, some of our economic indicators like job growth, business establishment or business growth, and we've struggled compared to our peer metropolitan areas as well as the nation. And then another area that has been somewhat concerning is our educational attainment rates. And what we've seen with the percentage of those that have a bachelor's degree or better in the Tucson metropolitan area is that we are declining. We're still ahead of the nation, but the nation is catching up pretty rapidly.
Of these 11 other regions that you mentioned, can you list a few and give us a sense of how Southern Arizona compares to those?
Sure. We obviously compare to Phoenix, since it's just up the road, but some of the other areas that we compare to are Albuquerque, El Paso, San Antonio, Salt Lake City, Portland, San Diego, Denver, Colorado Springs, Las Vegas. So some of those more larger metropolitan areas throughout the western U.S.
That being said, what sort of picture does the map dashboard paint for this region as it moves forward?
So I think the data has shown that Tucson has been improving, especially since the Great Recession, and many of our economic indicators and our job growth, our GDP, all of that has been increasing and improving home prices since the Great Recession occurred. The Great Recession, another thing the map really pointed out for the Tucson region compared to some of the other regions around the western U.S. is just how hard hit the Tucson metropolitan area was by the Great Recession. Some of that has to do with the structure of employment in Tucson, but our home prices, our job growth, we were hit much harder than the nation as a whole, and then also our peer metropolitan areas. So a lot of improvement over the last several years.
Okay, Jennifer Pullen joining us from the map dashboard, and she joins us from South Carolina. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Long gone are the days when most Americans relied on dial-up to go online. Now all it takes are a few taps on a smartphone, and most service providers are focused on beefing up their broadband networks. This week, we took a closer look at evidence of that push in Tucson. This is a small cell pole designed to enhance broadband coverage in high-demand areas. Right now, Tucson has about 70, and providers want to install hundreds more.
We have over 200 permits that have been submitted as of now to construct more throughout the city limits.
Erica Frizzell works in the city's transportation department. It reviews applications and gives providers permission to work in the public right-of-way. Once the city grants a permit, providers have 90 days to get the job done.
At the end of their installation, the city owns that pole.
Frizzell says Tucson began receiving more applications a few years ago after new state law significantly lowered maintenance fees for providers from $3,000 down to $100 a year. While most poles are downtown and around the University of Arizona, dozens more are slated to go up in Midtown and on the south side.
I think we're all into having fast internet and getting everything done. Everything we do is internet based, so having that ability and having these poles so close to wherever you are is a positive.
Current tech in the city helps providers boost their 4G networks, but Frizzell says poles installed by Verizon can also support 5G.
That is not saying that 5G is it is on and it is capable within Tucson, but they do, once it does come to Tucson, are able to turn that on.
For now, Verizon has not announced 5G plans for Tucson. But in August, some providers brought 5G to parts of Phoenix, making it one of a few dozen cities nationwide with service. We learn more about 5G's significance and its potential impact from Ravi Tandon, an assistant professor in the U of A College of Engineering. Tell me, 5G, a lot of us are thinking about 4G. What makes them so different?
So wireless systems usually evolve in generations. And we started from the first generation to the second to the third. And currently we are in the fourth generation of wireless networks. The fifth generation wireless networks, they will differ from the fourth generation in a bunch of different ways. The very first one being of higher data rates. So 4G phones usually give us sort of peak speeds of 50 megabits per second. And the goal of 5G networks is to increase the data rate by up to 10 to 100 times. So imagine downloading a movie on a 4G phone, a 2-hour movie. It will take you about 30 minutes or so to download a 2-hour movie. In contrast, if you use a peak speed of a 5G network, you can download in a few seconds. So that's number one, which is high data rates. In other ways, such as low latency, 5G is supposed to have very low latency in transmission of data, as well as high reliability. So very few dropped calls and so on and so forth in 5G. In addition to these three aspects, another interesting thing in 5G is that of massive connectivity. So if you think about dense urban scenarios, let's say in New York City, if you look at 1 square kilometer of area, 4G can support, let's say, 50,000 devices. But on the other hand, 5G should be able to support 10 times more.
Businesses, municipalities, how are they adapting to all this? They also want it for the same reason.
Of course. So I'll give you a few examples. So for instance, one application or use case of 5G is that of smart cities and smart homes. And what people are envisioning is that if you take a city, for instance, we have traffic lights, we have different type of sensors on bridges and infrastructure. The goal is that with this massive connectivity enabled by 5G, all these devices and sensors will be interconnected to each other, and they might be able to make autonomous decisions. So for instance, if a sensor is installed on a bridge and a bridge needs a repair, then automatically somebody will be alerted. The person or the agency responsible for updating and maintaining the infrastructure can be alerted in real time that, look, there is this particular device or object that needs to be replaced and needs attention. Another set of interesting use cases are in automobile industry. So if you think about autonomous vehicles will need to talk to each other to adapt and make driving safer by adapting to the sort of their neighborhood environment on the road and so on. And this also requires very low latency communication and high data rates. So 4G, for instance, cannot enable autonomous driving. On the other hand, 5G will be one of the key players in enabling autonomous vehicles.
How expensive is this going to be? As a consumer, would I need to buy a new phone or new equipment?
I believe so. And the reason for that is the way 5G networks operate is completely different from the way 4G networks operate. The way our phones operate, they transmit signals over the air at certain frequencies. And it turns out that our current phones are not tuned or designed to work at those new frequencies that the 5G is envisioning to work on. So to that end, we will need to devise and actually buy new hardware, as you said.
What are some of the challenges with going to 5G?
So these frequencies, they provide us a lot of bandwidth. They provide a lot of spectrum, which means we essentially we can get higher data rates. However, these frequencies are very challenging to work on because as you go higher in the frequency spectrum, the signal decays very fast with distance. So 4G signals can propagate up to a few kilometers, whereas 5G signals will propagate up to maybe 500 meters, which means we will need to put in more cell towers. So that's one of the technical challenges, to deploy more number of base stations. So people give this, call this as small cells. So small cells and a large number of cells will need to be deployed.
Dare I ask, what is next?
So that's a great question. You know, as I told you, the wireless networks usually evolve in generations, and these generations typically last for a decade. So as you know, 4G sort of was started to roll out in the beginning of this decade, and we are nearing the end of this decade. So as we enter 2020s, 5G will be beginning to roll out. And My guess is that at the end of next decade, we will be thinking about new applications, which will be enabled by perhaps the next generation of wireless networks, say 6G and beyond.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Dr. Tanner, we'll have you back in 10 years. We'll talk about that new wave.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. As Arizona takes steps to improve access to broadband, it's looking at shortfalls in service in rural areas and tribal lands. According to the state's 2018 Broadband Strategic Plan, in 95% of the tribal land population, roughly 162,000 people have either unserved or underserved telecommunication capabilities. As a result, many rely on what's known as community anchor institutions, like schools, libraries, and other facilities that support the community. On the Tohono O'Odham Nation in Cells, the community college serves that role. While work is underway to upgrade fiber connections, we learn more about the ongoing need for faster speeds from the college's Dean of Sustainability, Mario Montes Elu, and IT technician Sean Nez, who grew up on the Nation. How important is having broadband service out here in a community like this one?
In the community, especially for the Tohono O'Odham Community College, is very important for the students. You know, the 21st century education is requiring internet connectivity and is a basic need for the students to be able to do homework. We have electronic textbooks, and then they cannot have access at home, so they need to figure out how to work homework in the communities, not being at the facilities of the college.
Some of your classmates, when you were growing up, did they count on places like this to come and do their work?
Yeah, TOCC was the #1 place to come to work on their assignments. But if they lived far away and they needed to go somewhere else, like the other locations would probably be like Bashis or Shell. They also offer internet services there. But they close at a certain time on like the diner side where people usually sit at. I know they close that spot down like at 9 o'clock. And so you can sit in the parking lot and work on your assignments out there.
Have you noticed an improvement in academics as the system continues to develop?
I think so. Just an example, we have classes where it is important for the instructor to show a video or something like that, and sometimes it just starts buffering, and then and now they are more happy, or the students and faculty, just to be able to use these technologies for the students.
Sean, there are some studies that say that access to broadband improves things like education, civic engagement, the economy. Could there be a drastic difference if there were better opportunities for accessing broadband?
Most definitely, yeah. I know if we have faster speeds, like a lot of people can maybe do a lot of like work at home or just other things.
We have an art program. We are thinking that the students can produce art here and then they can put it for sale in the web. Those kind of small things that, as you mentioned, they are something that in a big city is not a problem. Here is a challenge. So to upload a high definition picture of something, it takes forever, and sometimes it doesn't connect.
I know in both your line of work, you're probably dealing with a younger population with students. Are you seeing an interest from older members here who are interested in having access?
Yeah, I see the older population have interest in technology. One of the things is that some of the students, majority of the students are elders, and so they have a hard time understanding how to use a computer. And so I'm there sitting next to them, showing them how to open up the web page and how to open up files.
What have you learned about some of the challenges out here for the nation specifically?
The size of the nation, that's one. I think until a few years ago, we started having the fiber optic to all the districts, but they go to the main office of the district, and then sometimes they can provide access to the community. But sometimes it's not the case. I think the challenges that we have is the same as tribal lands across the nation, and also the rural areas where there are no services. I don't know, the main reason is maybe because the density of the people is so low, or there are some structural issues that they need to be worked out. In some of the tribal college, we are seeing that. Connectivity is a challenge not only for us, but for many of the tribal colleges in the nation.
So before even addressing the issue of broadband, there are other utilities that need upgrades in order to get you where you'd like to be?
That's a very good question. I think even having electricity is as challenging here. So there are people who they don't have access to electricity. So we have some ideas to provide like students with a solar panel and a charger and things like that, so they can charge their laptop and have access. But it still is a dream that we can see for the future.
In a few weeks, Tucson will tally the ballots in its election and learn who its next mayor will be. In his final weeks in that office, Mayor Jonathan Rothschild sat down with Christopher Conover in Arizona Public Media's radio studio to reflect on his 8 years in office.
Let's take a minute and look back about 8 years. You're about to wrap up your final term. As you start to look back, what are you most proud of?
8 years ago, if people remember, right, wrong, or indifferent, there was kind of a distrust of City Hall. People didn't think the city was running in the right direction, and probably one of the reasons I ran. When I got there, I found that some of that was misperception, but it didn't matter because if it's a perception, that's a reality in government. And so the first thing I did was sit down with the manager and the department heads, and I said, look, when we get a complaint, and I learned this from the practice of law, when we get a complaint in, I would like a response within 48 hours. And it doesn't mean you have to tell the person that you're going to do what they say, but a lot of times we probably can. And if we can't, let's just tell them why we can't. What are the issues that prevent us from getting that done now?
At least acknowledge the complaint.
Acknowledge the complaint and give an explanation. And I will tell you, for the 8 years, and we've had many different department directors, everybody's been great about that. And so that sort of built a new communication with our constituency.
Rothschild believes the passage of 3 separate bonds over the years for roads, public safety, and parks serve as further proof that the city regained voters' trust. When you came into office, one of the things you started talking about and have continued to talk about is homelessness.
Yeah.
You said at one point you wanted to see an end to veteran homelessness. Was that too big a bite?
Yeah. That was actually my friend President Obama who gave me that charge, and 24 other cities. But I'll tell you what I've learned, because we've housed since that program started, we've housed over 3,000 formerly homeless vets over 6 years, which seems like an immense number. But what I've learned is this: you don't end homelessness because people become homeless because of domestic violence, because they lose a job and they were living paycheck to paycheck, because they may fall into a serious mental illness or a substance abuse issue. There's any number of reasons why people become homeless. And so what's more important is that you build a system that can rapidly respond to people when they become homeless. And we've done a pretty good job in this community of that. And it's an area where the city and the county have worked well together. Took us a little while, as usual, but we've coordinated. So we now actually, in our chronic homeless program, we know by name all of the people who are on the street, what their problems are, try to keep track of where they are. But those are the hardest cases. Those are the cases that you can't just put somebody into a program because they may have a serious mental illness or may have a really bad substance abuse program. Something that I think we've done well with, but I don't think it's something that people should think will ever go away. You just want to keep it to the minimum you can.
When you came into office, you laid out a 100-day plan, and a lot of people at the time said, that's really aggressive. Now, with 8 years of hindsight, was that too aggressive? And would you advise whoever is coming into your office next as the next mayor to be that aggressive?
Well, a couple of things. It was 180 days, and it was. And we tried to pick out low-hanging fruit, and quite frankly, we all probably remember our friend Josh Brodetsky. You know, he was always kind of a little bit of a young curmudgeon. And, I would be out there on the campaign trail saying the things all electeds would say. And he said, you know what, why don't you say some specifics about what you're going to do? And so we went back and we really did look at things that we thought we could accomplish in 180 days. And we said at the time, we're going to report after 180 days. And we'll report what we got done and what we didn't, and if not, why not, and where we go from there. So I do think it's a good idea for somebody to lay out what they want to do and how they're going to get it done. Now, particularly in your first 180 days year, you shouldn't be too aggressive. I mean, don't promise people the world, because then the next thing that happens is they're like, oh, you promised that, but you couldn't get it done. So it's a balance, but I think it's a good system.
After he leaves office, Rothschild says he'll return to his law firm and teach at the U of A College of Law. As for what awaits the next mayor of Tucson, Rothschild says funding for affordable housing remains a challenge, among other issues.
The real hardest issue and the most frustrating thing really over all the years has been the revenue system is such, and this is true for cities across the country, that when you have a federal government that is not generous, and you have a state government that is not overly generous, the cities are where the services are done. And I don't know of a city in the United States, big city in the United States, that has the revenue it needs to provide the services that it wants to provide. It'd be nice and really nice to do some discretionary things, but even to have enough police officers. I'm going to say we're 100 officers short. I don't think anyone quarrels with that. And we're working to put together a program to get those officers, but to get even 20 new officers a year means getting 40 new officers a year, because people retire, people become disabled, whatever it may be. And that's a big lift in today's society. So again, replacing that workforce is going to be a challenge and something that, would be fun to be there for. But at the same time, I can, be a few blocks down and maybe just make a suggestion. I won't come to call to the audience.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, and good luck on the next chapter.
Thank you, Chris.
That's all for now. Thanks for joining us. To get in touch, visit us on social media or send an email to arizona360@azpm.org and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.